If you're looking to build any DeFi application during the weekend, let me tell you something. Now, it is fully possible to customize all of your DeFi experience from the swap cycle. Meaning before and after the swap, you can add some sort of like logic that allows you to customize the way that you interact with your users. For example, let's say you are looking to add before the swap a logic that allows you to whitelist some sort of addresses in order for you to understand who are the ones that interact with your pool. So from real world assets to incentive or lotteries, or even why not, you want to improve liquidity providers' capital efficiency. There's certain ways that after this talk, you're going to understand not just how to build over the weekend, but also how to be part of the future financial infrastructure. My name is Ocando. I am the Developer Community Manager here in the Uniswap Foundation, and along with my colleague Dayitva, we are going to guide you over the Uniswap B4 protocol, hooks, clear problem statements for you to build, and also a B4 template that is going to allow you to your first hook. But first, let me introduce you to the Uniswap Foundation. In pursuit of a more open and fair financial system, the Uniswap Foundation supports the growth, decentralization, and sustainability of the Uniswap community, focusing on 5 key pillars: protocol innovation, developers, we are here for sure, governance, research, and security. So yeah, let's go over the Uniswap protocol understanding. Just as a brief recap, the Uniswap protocol, it is a peer-to-peer system designed for exchanging cryptocurrencies or ERC20 tokens. So for example, if you are looking to trade ETH for USDC in a decentralized way, the Uniswap protocol, it is a set of smart contracts that connects from one side the liquidity providers and on the other the traders. In this case, you wanted to trade ETH for USDC. And it's important to mention that all of these contracts are not unreadable. And of course, these are designed to prioritize censorship resistance, security, self-custody, and way more. The Uniswap V1, it was launched on 2018. But over the time, the protocol it's been improving for sure, and we now have B4 version that not just allows you to trade any ERC20 to ERC20 tokens, but also more than the country-traded liquidity, meaning on the B3 and B4 version, you have the possibility as a liquidity provider to say, hey, I want to add my liquidity from this range or prices range. Now we have the singleton architecture. For example, everything is in one contract, all the pools, all the tokens, meaning not just gas efficiency, but providing a better experience out there. In the past, we used to have fixed fees from 0.3% to 1%. Now we have continuous fees like spectrum and dynamic fees, meaning as a developer, you have the full flexibility out there to decide what are the fees you want to implement for your users. And we also have the ERC 6909 and flash accounting, meaning from internal tokens transactions as arbitrary and operations with like minimal token transfer. We're not just looking for gas efficiency, but providing a seamless trading experience out there in a decentralized ways. And finally, I don't know if you remember, but I mentioned some sort of like logic that you can add before and after the swap. We call that hooks, meaning having the possibility to add arbitrary logic attached to the life cycle operations. So again, now you have the full possibility to customize your DeFi application from the beginning, and of course, taking the decisions you think are the best for your users out there. So just from a visual perspective, back in the day, and like the B3 version of the protocol launched in 2021, if you wanted to trade ETH for DAI, so these are two different operations, going first from ETH to USDC, and then from USDC to DAI, or if you want to use USDT, like the same. But now with the B4, including the singleton contract, but also the flash accounting, everything happens in just one transaction inside one contract. So yeah, a better experience that you can look not just in like the gas efficiency, but then your users are going to notice 100% from the price impact and way more. And finally, hooks that, if you remember, I mentioned before and after the swap. You can add some sort of like custom logic or scripts that allows you to add external contracts that finally modify the pool behavior. So important note in here is the fact that you can only add one hook per pool, but then one hook can serve many pools out there. And the B4 protocol includes 14 hooks, hook functions available. From before and after the swap, you can add or remove liquidity, donations, update fees, and way more. Just in a few seconds, my colleague Dayitva is going to show you some of them. And through our template, you're going to understand how to activate it. Just let me go real quick on the flow and how the protocol works in order for you to understand where to add or delete that logic. So once you start the swap, the system is going to check before swap flap, meaning if you added any custom logic, the system is going to be there and execute it. If not, just execute the swap, right, as a normal transaction. And then after the execution of the swap, it is going to check after the swap flag if you added any some sort of like custom logic or not, and for sure execute it till the end of the swap. So now you understand what are like some of the features and possibilities that allows you to customize all of the DeFi experience out there. Hopefully during the weekend, you're going to end up building one of these hooks. But now I want to show you, along with my colleague Dayitva, some of like clear problem statements and also how to use the B4 template. So that way, again, not just building hooks here at ETH Global, but then the future of the DeFi application. Dayitva, go ahead.
Thank you so much for that wonderful explanation, Angela. I'll be going over some problem statements now that we have designed to give you some ideas to hack over this weekend. The first one is the stable efficiency at scale. This problem is about designing a hook that targets the stable coin pairs with trade sizes over $500,000 on mainnet. The main thing to consider here is, of course, the mainnet gas costs, which can get quite expensive. You also need to think about how would this hook compete with other DEXs in that market, and how do you reduce MEV on trades of such large sizes. The next one is the TBAP execution hook, which is very closely related to the previous problem. This is about designing a hook that enables TBAP, which is time-weighted average price execution for large swaps. So could you possibly split a large order into much smaller orders and have them split over time so that you get a much better price execution? Could you also minimize slippage using this? Some things that you might want to look into this are how do you integrate it with 1-inch limit orders or even the smart order router from Uniswap. The next is the Pendle-style AMM rebuild. So Pendle allows you to split an yield-bearing asset into a principal token and an yield token, and it has a time-decaying AMM to price such assets. The problem statement here is, of course, how do you design a PMM-style AMM on Uniswap itself as a V4 hook? And this is something that we are really excited to see. The next is the World ID verified pools. So Coinbase already uses Uniswap V4 hooks for its verified pools that allows users to only interact with pools that meet the institutional AYC, KYC, and AML standards. So you could also use the same thing to build a World ID mini app that allows verified users to interact with certain liquidity pools. The things that you also need to think about here is how do you improve and mitigate sybil resistance, improve UX and compliance in DeFi with such verified pools. The next is the lottery pools with social yield. I'm pretty sure most of you know what pool together is, but it is a no-loss lottery where people pool in some assets and the yield is redistributed to people as the lottery. So How do you recreate such no-loss lotteries for stablecoin pairs using a hook-enabled world mini app? Again, using some previous ideas and mix and matching these. Could you also incorporate social rewards, world ID, and gas abstraction features directly into this V4 hook? The next is the smart borrow hook. Another superpower that is unlocked by hooks is the rehypothecation of liquidity, which means that you can put out-of-range liquidity into platforms like Aave or similar lending protocols like Compound or Morpho and have them generate yield even though it might not be generating on Uniswap. Some other ideas that you can look into is smart borrowing, leveraging automation, and even conditional loan logic. Another thing that's hooks unlock is the assets that were previously not available on Uniswap can now be available on pools through hooks. So could you design a hook that supports the primary issuance of RWAs and of course integrate KYC compliance checks, ERC 6343 or other institutional standards into this? The next two problems are a bit complicated, but again, they're looking for open innovation in these cases. The first one is the under 5K ETH swaps on L2. In this case, you need to design a hook for ETH-USDC swaps, which fall under the range of 5,000 on Unichain and of course other low-cost L2s like Base. And you need to guarantee best price execution and compete with aggregators. Uniswap already does a pretty good job at this, but could you design a hook that takes it to the next level? The next problem again takes it a step further, which is to trade with medium-sized trades. How do you recapture MEVs for LPs in these cases, or probably create an incentive mechanism that boosts volume or liquidity depth for such pairs on L2s? Again, we know that these problems are hard, but you feel free to take some ideas from previous hooks and try to put on these. Again, you're not limited to the ideas that I've just discussed, and you're free to choose any ideas for this hackathon. The next are some resources that I'd like to discuss. The first one is the Hook Directory by Atrium Academy, which is the learning arm of UF, and it conducts the Uniswap Hook Incubator over the year. They have a hackathon at the end of each cohort, and the projects are all public on this Notion doc that you can get by scanning this QR code. We highly encourage you to go and take a look at this to see how the previous hooks have been built, especially the hooks that have won some prizes, and you can get and take a look at all of their backend and front-end code for your own inspiration for your hooks. The next is the UF Hacker Toolkit. This toolkit is something that has everything at one place. It has all of the bounties that are there, all of the judging criteria that we need, all of the ideas that I've just discussed, the documentation and resources, and so much more. So feel free again, go ahead and scan this QR code to get the toolkit. The next up is the V4 template. The V4 template is something that we have designed to help you get up to speed on developing hooks. So again, you just scan this QR code and get the GitHub link, and you can just clone this repo, and it has all of the dependencies installed. It has many of the scripts to deploy a pool, deploy the liquidity to such pools, your hook as well. And this is the perfect way to get started with hook development on V4. I'll give you a small rundown or demo of how to use this V4 template. Okay, I think this should be visible now. So I've already cloned the repo to my local machine, and this is the README for this. It's pretty standard to get started with this. You just clone the repo and then do a Foundry up to make sure that you are on the latest version of Foundry. Do Forge install, which I've already done, and then you can do a Forge test to make sure that everything has been done correctly. While that runs, I'll show you the important parts. So over here, we have the scripts, the base scripts and the liquidity helpers to help with the liquidity provision, the deploy scripts, the create tool. I'll come back to those, and the tests have run. Okay, yeah. So SRC, which has the counter.sol, is the main file that you want to be looking at. This is where you actually develop your hook, and this is a very basic sample hook that we have developed for you. This is a counter which has 4 mappings that counts anytime a before swap hook is called and after swap hook is called, before add liquidity, before remove liquidity. Again, these are the 14 hook functions that you can use for V4 hook development, and you need to set all of them true, the ones that you probably are using for. So the before add liquidity would be true over here, before swap, after swap, and of course, the before remove liquidity. In this case, we're not doing a lot, but in fact, just incrementing the counter by 1 whenever this function is called. And it's a very basic hook, but it serves the purpose for a demo. In this case is where you define all of the tests. So whenever you're testing your hook this is where you'll write all of your tests. You set up the hook by deploying the hook, by adding that hook to a pool, deploying that pool with some liquidity, and then testing the hooks over here. And before add liquidity should be 1 because we have already added liquidity to the pool. Everything should be 0. After you make a swap, the before swap and after swap should both turn into 1 because in a swap lifecycle, both before swap and after swap are called. Again, for test liquidity, you do the same things. What I want to show you over here is, let's say I want to actually go ahead and test this hook on a real test net or even mainnet. I can just make an Anvil fork of this. So I'll do Anvil fork at this URL. I'm using Uni Sepolia for this case, but again, it's just a fork of the Uni Sepolia itself. It's started now. So what I can do is let's say I want to deploy this hook. So I would need to call the deploy hook script. I'll call forge script, and I already have a lot of it pre-written. Call 0, yes, and I can just call this, and this should ideally deploy the hook. The constants are the private key and the RPC URL, which I've already taken from the Anvil itself. And we're just waiting for this. Let me probably increase this over here. And yes, everything went successfully. We even got the hook address. So now assume you want to use this hook and test with this. So you would go to the base script, which is available in scripts, and change the hook address over here. After you change the hook address, you probably want to deploy some tokens. And I've just created this small script which says to create tokens. I've created 2 mock tokens, and I'll deploy these tokens and mint some amounts to the message.sender. So I can just call this as well. Scripts 018. And this should ideally create 2 mock tokens and mint me about 10,000 of each because the decimals are 18 for both. And we should see, yes, the transactions are coming on Anvil as well. It compiles. And yes, everything goes successfully over here as well. We get both the token 0 and token 1 address. Let me copy these again, change these on the base script to make sure that it is available everywhere else. After I've created the tokens, I would like to create a pool and add liquidity. With this script, you'll be able to create and add liquidity. I can show you what it does. It sets the LP fee, the tick spacing, the starting price, both the token amounts. I'm just initializing a pool with 100 tokens of each. Tick, you have to create a pool key for that. Of course, it fetches the currency 0 and currency 1 from the base script, the hook contract as well from there, and it mints the liquidity for both of them. So this is an action-based multi-call. So you need to use actions like these, then you value.pass, and then you just multi-call with everything. So this should create a pool and add liquidity all at the same time with this multi-call. Setting up the EVM. And yes, everything was successful once more. So we have set up the pool and we have deployed liquidity to this. The final step is to, of course, just do the swap. And we can do a swap using the script. Let me run the swap as well. We'll do a 0.3 swap. For swap as well, we just get the pool key. You need to specify every pool on V4 is identified by these 5 parameters, which is currency 0, currency 1, fee, tick spacing, and hooks. These all identify a unique pool. And with these pools, you approve the tokens first. We are approving both of them because we're just testing. And then we call the swap router, swap tokens for tokens. And again, you just specify how much tokens you want to send in, how much you want to get out. Again, this is bad practice, but we're just testing. And yes, it goes successfully as well. So this is how you use all of the V4 template and its scripts. And you can use it in a production environment or for local testing as well. You have everything available over here, and happy development.